Hi everyone, Eric from Healing Relationship. This is our weekly recorded session where we talk about relationships, self-empowerment, and healing. I believe that the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship you have. Today, I'm very glad to have as my guest, Leslie Seidel. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, how are you today?
Great. It's so nice to have you with me today. I met Leslie 2 years ago. We were together on a mastermind group coaching. And I think we have a similar approach to relationship and how to attract the right partner. And I really wanted to have you on this show. So I'm very glad you're here.
Yeah, I think that we love talking about this, right? We agree on so many of these aspects and I love the fact that you're out there doing this work.
Yeah, that's great. But let me introduce you. So Leslie Seidel is a relationship expert who helps successful single women get clear on what they want and remove the barriers they have to love so that they can date effortlessly and with confidence and be with the romantic partner they have always wished for. It is her mission to empower women who struggle with insecurities, fear, guilt, and loneliness so that they can have the confidence to bring out their inner goddess. Utilizing spiritual, mental, and physical strategies to teach women how to be more authentically themselves and therefore attract the perfect partner for them. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I always find that what do you do question so interesting. So no, that's fine. That sounds great.
Okay, so tell me, how did you get to do this job?
You know, I deeply believe in the wounded healer. And if you don't know that, the wounded healer is this idea of teach what you have gone through and what you've come out the other end, right? And I started my career in corporate world. I did mergers and acquisitions, and I went out and, conquered, and I was really driven to have a business card, right? Some fancy business card. And I got to do that, and it was fun. And this one aspect of my life never worked, which was relationships. And I had a great family, I had great friends, I had a great career, I had a great, house, and I just did not understand. And I wanted so desperately to be married and to have this relationship, have a partnership, a really, this sounds funny, but epic relationship. And I just could never get it. I just could never have it happen. And I wasn't someone who just wanted to get married to get married. I just wanted partnership, true love, true life partnership, and I believed in it. And I just felt like everyone else knew how to date. Everyone else knew how to do this thing, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I went on this spiritual quest. I knew that I was the common denominator in all my relationships. Because it's so easy. It's so easy to say all men are blah, blah, blah. All women are blah, blah, blah. And it's just not true, because I would go to my friends were getting married, and my friends were having children, and my friends were doing this. And I believe that we all have the relationship that we think we deserve. And it's deeply, deeply underneath think, not logically think. And so I started doing a bunch of spiritual work, right? And I went to get my master's in spiritual psychology, and I sat with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I walked 100 miles on the Camino de Santiago for a pilgrimage, right? I did all of these things that were gonna, and I just did every weekend self-help seminar in the world. And it's a journey, and I believe that a relationship is a journey, and I agree with you, right? My relationship with myself is a reflection of the relationships that I'm having outside. And I'm super grateful that I held out and I did the work, and I now have an amazing marriage to an amazing man, and I have a kid, and it's, so often I hear, oh, your husband, he's a unicorn. That's what I get, right? Yeah. right? And I'm like, no, because he's just my mate, right? My perfect fit. And I believe that we all get to have those perfect fits, and we're currently having the perfect fit, right? For wherever place we're at is being reflected in the relationship around us. So I finally just took it got to a point in my life where I was so passionate about having this be given to other women, right? To say, okay, I struggled. I didn't have anyone out there to help me. I didn't have a guide. I had to go bumble around and figure it all out myself. Let me show you exactly how to go from where you are and to where you want to be. And so that's what I do.
That's beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing your story. I think it's very inspiring. So tell me, on your quest, what did you discover about yourself?
What didn't I discover about myself?
Yeah.
Again, I think the deepest thing is the idea that we're having the relationship that we think we deserve, right? So like, it's this idea of limiting beliefs. And, I was ashamed of wanting a relationship. I felt like that meant I was needy in some way. And, and in reality, the vulnerability that's required for a relationship is so, it takes so much power to be that vulnerable and to look at another person and just say, like, here I am, I love you. Do you like me? You know what I mean? Like, and I've totally forgotten the question. Yeah, what was the question? I got stuck in the vulnerability.
Yeah, no, the question was, what did you get from your quest? And probably maybe the next question will help you is, when was the shifting point or turning point for you where you started to believe that you could have the relationship you wanted?
Okay, so the first answer is, ready?
Yeah.
I'm awesome. That's what I found out. And so are you. And that we're both like worthy, amazing human beings. And that I felt so like fundamentally wrong. Like there was just something inside of me that I couldn't point to, that I didn't know was shameful or embarrassing or just bad. And I was just working so hard to never let anyone see it. And the truth of the matter is we're all awkward, and life is awkward, and you're just trying to find someone who is your kind of weird, whatever that is, right? My husband and I want to make t-shirts saying awkward for life. And, because I think he's awkward and he thinks I am, but it's him. So that just this idea that I'm great and I'm not, right? Like it's both. I'm worthy of love. There is nothing for me to do, say, or be than be worthy of love. And that the only reason I wasn't able to receive it is I didn't know I was. Right? And so I did all these like spiritual quests, and they were so, I don't know about you, but I'm going to Bali. And like just all these like things. And God is no more present in Bali than he is in my kitchen. Than he is in this conversation with you. That there is magic in every single thing in my life, right? And that I didn't have to leave. Like it's actually more spiritual to chop wood, carry water, right? Do the dishes, do the laundry, day in and day out, show up. Like that's what I want. That's what I want in a partner. I could have these partners that would go on these grand vacations with me and do all these things, but I needed someone who is able to do the dishes and be there at 3 a.m. when my kid is sick, right? Like that's the work. That's the path and the partner. Yeah, I can talk for days.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is there was a lot of acceptance and compassion for yourself at some point in your life that brought you finally to start to believe in yourself and empowering yourself.
Over and over and over again. Yes. And I guess the thing is I finally said, enough. I am willing to do the thing that frightens me the most to get the life that I want. And for me, it was about saying no to these guys. It was about finally saying, I am not going to have these morsels that these like part relationships were giving me on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the story for the magic with us, I don't know if you know the story, was that I had dated emotionally unavailable men, oh my God, for days. And I finally said, no more, not going to do that. I'm going to listen to other people, let other people choose the men for me. And I just was like, I'm going to get a nice guy. And the ex-boyfriend came and pulled the same thing that he always pulls. And I just looked up and was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Like there was a click in me that was like, I deserve more and I would rather be alone than do this game, this dance. And that what he was doing didn't make him bad or wrong. It just isn't about me. He couldn't show up to me because he couldn't show up, not because I was lacking in some way. And that night, I said no to him. My husband now turned around and said hello to me. And we had been in the same place in 2 different towns over the course of 7 years every week and never saw each other.
Wow, I love that story. It's amazing and very inspiring because it shows us that when we are ready to let go of the thing that doesn't work for us, you know, when I was hearing you, it's really like you set a boundary. Finally, you set the boundary and you said, no, this is not working for me. And then finally, there was a space, there was a new possibility that could come to you, and it came like right away.
Yeah. And then it's about that visibility, right? It's about the energy of it. It's about my husband couldn't have handled someone as strong as I am. And I couldn't receive the kind of love and devotion and kindness that he gives me. And we both had to be ready. And I believe that that's true of everybody, you know, and that, you know, so often we get caught up in these like, what app should I use? I don't like online dating, or I don't, you know, it's not, I believe that there is a part of our work that has to do with leaving your house, right? Probably meet more people if you leave your house. But I believe in doing it in a way that's authentic and good for you, that feels juicy for you. So if online dating doesn't feel good, stop doing it. And, you know, if what you like to do is sit in your house and read, well, go read in a coffee shop. Like the energy will start to work itself out, right? If what you like to do is hike, then go hiking with a group. Or just keep trusting, like, show me where to go. Show me like how to trust your inner guidance into that.
Yeah, I love that you talk about the inner guidance, because I think most of the time we are so caught up in our own stories and in our assumptions of the world and what could happen that we forgot just to tap into our wisdom and our intuition, right?
Yeah, I had a client who's amazing and she was really great. And she was so ready and I could feel it. And she had dated this guy who was close, right? He was very close, but he wasn't it. And we saw that. And so she broke up with him and she was despondent and it was New Year's Eve. And I just kept saying like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And she had like 4 options on the table. And I was like, just pick whatever's juiciest to you, right? Like that's actually the direction seeker. And she was like, I have this weird desire to go drive 2.5 hours to a friend of mine who's having a party. And I was like, then do it. Right. And then she met her now husband. Right. And it's just these things of like, we follow our inner guidance and the people will come. Right. I got to see you going to see Alma. Right. The spiritual, the first date my husband invited me on was to Spirit Rock. Right. To go to a meditation. Because that's what filled me up, and that's why we are in alignment. If I'm doing what fills me up, right? If you do what fills you up, you'll find and meet people who are like you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I can totally relate with you, because sometimes we made up so many excuses about this is this way. But I think you're right. When we are willing to be aligned with ourselves and just do the juicy stuff and, you know, what excites us, or just what feels right for us. This is where possibilities can come to us. And
Yeah.
then we are very open to whatever the universe can send us, right?
Yeah. And it's such a different feeling than I've got to go out on New Year's because I've got to meet a guy because I've got to do this thing, right? Like that energy, that like frantic, desperate energy is not what we want. Like it doesn't feel good in my body. It didn't feel good just doing that, right? And so it's about like trusting and you know, for me, I'm a little lazy. And so when I think of trusting, I'm always like, I'll sit on my couch. God get me that relationship, right? Like that's what I think. And it's not that, it's both, right? It's about calming my system down, being open, available, and being discerning and listening to our own inner guidance. How does someone make me feel when I'm around them? That was the thing that got me with my husband. It was easy. It was joyful. I would spend an hour with him and I'd be like, wow. Our first date, we went to this restaurant and he had made a reservation. We missed the reservation because we just sat chatting in my living room when he came to pick me up. You know, and I was like, this feels good. And then he called the restaurant to tell them we weren't going to come. And I thought, he's a stand-up guy. He didn't have to, but this is the kind of man he is, right? Like paying attention to who the person in front of you is. So yeah.
That's great. I have a question about men and women. Okay,
Oh.
so because you most of the time you're helping women, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you had to help a man, what
Mm-hmm.
would that be? Is it exactly the same law of attraction, same law of universe, or it's a bit different?
No, it's the same. I think that the reason I like working with women is because I just understand it better, right? I think the work is the work. I don't think that there's any different work for me than there is for you. I think there's small tweaks on how you experience the world versus me, right? Like you have such a great view because you live in Canada and you were raised in France, like, right? So you have this like really wide viewpoint. And I think that for me, I've worked with men and it's been great. It works great. I just am so passionate because I remember I just see so many women dating and accepting these morsels that aren't true, right? Like they're just swallowing whatever thing is out there. And I just, I want them to know that they are worthy of so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. So it always comes back to our thoughts and to our belief, right? Because a belief is just a thought that we have over and over again and it becomes a belief. So
Yeah.
it's all tied up with what we have in our head and what we decide is possible for us.
Yep.
Yeah. So what would be like maybe a strategy or a tool or a tip that we can give to people who are still struggling with that, you know, because it's okay to struggle with that. There's no judgment about it. But what can be like a boost up or a push up that can make a difference or that they can start to have a new perspective on life and what's possible for them?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I have a Facebook group, right? And I was on there and there was a woman chatting and I was talking about this like idea of limiting beliefs. And she typed in this post and she was like, oh, I don't have any limiting beliefs. And she said, you know, there's just not that many good guys out there and there's just not that many available men and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, wait, is this the limiting belief? This right here is it. And this is the thing I need to work on. And I was like, yep. You know what I mean? And so the first, and you know, we can quantify it, the hardest is to uncover your limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Right? To figure out what is going on because you're just trying to protect yourself. You have your own best interest at heart, right? And so you have this like unconscious going on in the background being like, don't ask him out because then he's going to say no and then you're going to feel destroyed. It's like, or I can ask him out and he's going to say yes and it might be awesome, right? Like,
yeah.
And so the thing I would say for you is like do some writing, right? For those of them out here, it's like do some writing. And one of the quickest ways to find out what your limiting beliefs are is write what you think you want, right? Like, so say, I don't know, I had one woman tell me, when she told me what kind of man she wanted a man with a job. I was like, a job? Like that's your, like, just job? Like, and we can maybe move that up a little? Like, how about a career? You know, and so you write kind of this dream of what you would like. Oh, I would love to have a man who's, I'll use mine. I wanted a partner who had a spiritual practice, who wanted a family, who, independent of me, deeply wanted to be in partnership. And then immediately will come out, that guy doesn't exist or he's already married. Like, the thing that you believe isn't, you know what I mean? Like, the resistance you have to your dream is going to come flooding in the second you start thinking about your dream. And one of the easiest ways to find these things is to write, right? The act of pen to paper slows down your mental process. And I always love to think, I'll just sit here and think about it. It's the same. Nope. Write it down. Just start writing. Put a clock on, 10 minutes, write out what your dream is, and then write out your initial reaction to why that's not possible, right?
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. Yeah, I think it's a great tool and a great process to do, because it really brings what we are afraid of, right?
Yes.
And I think when we can bring what we are afraid of, we can be honest with ourselves, which sometimes is difficult, right? But let's say that we have the courage to do that.
Yeah.
Then we can see what kind of belief is limiting us. And then we can see, okay, what can I do about that?
Is it true?
Yeah,
that's the next
exactly.
thing. Is that true? That there are no available men in the world? Is that actually true?
No, that's not.
No. Lie. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah. I like how you do your work, because you're very playful. You're very funny, and you're very playful. And I think sometimes we forgot about being playful with all of that. We take ourselves so seriously and life so seriously that it becomes like a huge amount of stress, right?
Oh my gosh. And it's like, spiritual work is serious work. And we've got to no. I mean, yeah, it is. I show up for any intense feelings that we have. I'm available for that. And there is a time and a place for that. And being human is awkward. Let's just embrace it and move on, right? Like, let's just all have fun doing this. It doesn't have to be scary. It can be fun, adventurous.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. Okay, you find your mate, you're in a great relationship, but tell me, is it always great?
Of course not. I mean, come on. So, no. The thing I will tell you about, like, this idea, right, of soulmate, right, all of these, like, catchphrases are so interesting. My husband irritates me. I irritate him. He does things wrong. But a lot of it is just, it's really small stuff. It's not the big life things. We don't disagree on child raising. We don't disagree. We agree on where we want to live. We agree on the life we want, right? I think he doesn't do the dishes enough. Pretty sure. I clean the house more than he, right? Like, what? I don't like long hair, and he would like long hair. And I really don't like it. And I had this whole thing where I was going to chop off if I said to him, if you grow a ponytail, I'm going to chop it off in your sleep. And then finally I was like, if the worst thing you ever do is have long hair, I am winning. Winning. And he, so it doesn't matter. He's an amazing partner. He is very supportive of me. We laugh a lot. We're good friends a lot. There's the business of life, right? Like, how do we spend our money? Where do we live? Who's going to get up at 3 a.m. with the kid? Like, and we do that very well. The partnership piece we do really well. And, people are annoying. Anyone in my space not doing what I want all the time is annoying. right?
That's a good reminder.
It's just, it's humanity. It's
Yes.
life with people is messy. And can I remember those good things? Can I remember that at heart, my husband's amazing, and that we, you know, one of the things that we are devoted to as a couple is to constantly remember that no matter what's happening between us, he wants to be in partnership with me and I want to be in partnership with him.
Mm,
That
yeah.
that we choose each other. And so when we're arguing and when he's making me mad or I'm making him mad, I don't know why, but ultimately that's what we want.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And I think what I hear you saying is most of the time you're on the same page. Because I see a
Yeah.
lot of the couples that they come to see me and they approach me, and when they start talking about what's going on in the couple's dynamic, I see they are not on the same page. They are living like in a two different direction. And I think it's really important to remind people that when in a partner, of course, there's going to be like some challenges, but if you are on the same page and you have the same direction, and when you don't have the same direction, when sometimes, there is some moment in life where we could take two different directions, it's really important to remind ourselves that we can work it out and we can find probably a third road or a third perspective or another option that we haven't thought about that can fulfill both of the partners, right? Do you
Yeah.
feel that way? Do you relate with that?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole work, is how do we both get our needs met and do it with the least amount of tension and the most amount of fun, right? And of course there's going to be a negotiation, right? There's a lot of, I remember the day, oh my gosh, I think Luke was probably, my son was probably 2 years old, and all of a sudden it hit me that my husband had an equal vote in what happens to Luke. I was like, wait a minute, so I'm not in charge? Like, he's not in charge. Like, we have to figure this out together. And I honestly got to say, for my son, that's in his benefit. He gets things from my husband, from his father, that I can't give him. And I bring things to the table that he can't get from his dad. And so I think of my life the same way. Like, we conquer this path together because my husband brings things I don't bring, and I bring things that he doesn't bring. Right? Like, it's the power we have together is so much greater than the power separated.
Yeah, I like that. And I was thinking about one thing because you talk about fulfilling our needs, right? Mm-hmm. I think we live in an era today where I think people have too much expectation about their partner to meet their needs. And it's Esther Perel, she's a psychologist, a famous psychologist, and she always said that we live in a so different era that our parents and the last generation was, where they had a support system, where they had a family, and where the needs of a couple or the needs of as an individual was met by so many other people. And now we expect to be with one partner and that he can meet all our needs, right? And so there is this expectation. And I think when we can let go of that expectation and we can say, okay, my wife or my husband can fulfill one or two needs, but I have my girlfriends, I have my parents, I have my coworker, and I can be like in harmony with all of that and being okay with that. What do you relate with? You relate that?
Needed. Yeah. That whole, like, he's my everything BS. What I think is missing for most men are those male companions. I think in our society, it's just so much harder for men to find other men to have these intimate friendships with, and I think that there is this study done where the highest rate of suicide is in, I think it was like single 55-year-old white males, because they didn't have these like relationships, right? And that it's harder to reach out. Like, I can go up to a woman and start a conversation. It's a little more, the woman's in charge of the social calendar, and it's, no one needs all of this, right? No one. And that's true of my good friends that I've had for 20 years. I get to call them. It's a different relationship. I get to have these. And I think it's so true. We miss the village. I had someone tell me that, what was it? People who didn't have as much money were actually more socially satiated and supported, because as you got wealthier, you would live isolated, right? You would hire out the nanny and hired out this, and you got a big house and a big yard and a big fence. And you didn't have as many intimate relationships, where if you didn't have as much money, you may live with your parents and you may have your sister watch your kid, and right? And so there's more of a village atmosphere where it's all of us together trying to grow this thing. And I think it's super important for my child to have relationships outside of my husband and I, for me to, for my husband belongs to a men's group. I think it's so important. And my one and true only, I mean, I personally, and a relationship can look different however it is for you. You just need to decide what that means for you, and then make sure that you're honest and communicate that to your partner. I have some friends who go on vacations apart from each other. I don't choose to do that. I have other friends who go everywhere with their partner. That's fine too. You just want to find your match, right? Yeah, so I totally believe that. Yeah. And I believe it's a lie, right? And it's a way to ensure the demise of your marriage.
No, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And I have probably the last question is, what is the best advice you ever received, or something that someone gave you and that made a difference in your life?
Oh my. You know, one of my favorite things is, so God, I use God loosely, which is whatever God is for you, whatever the universe is for you, whatever spirit is for you. And this has been the theme for the last like 10 years, I would say. And everyone that knows me has heard it a bazillion times, which is God either is or God isn't. And so the idea is the same rules apply for you as they apply to me. So when I meet you and I go, God, you know, I love that guy. He's so great. I know that he gets to have the relationship that's juicy and amazing and fulfilling. Well, if that's true about you, it by definition has to be true about me too. Right? And so either the rules all apply, either there is a loving spiritual energy in the world that wants people to connect and love each other, or there isn't. But I can't believe it about you and then not apply it to myself.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah.
I asked you the question before we started the interview because I saw a picture behind you. So I want to see that picture, because you told me that it's your husband when he was in high school. And I think it's so cute because you didn't met your husband when he was in high school.
No,
so tell us, why do you have this picture?
It's so, here, I'll grab it. He'll love that. Here you go. We'll put him front and look at that. Look at that little kid. Look at that kid. Just so you know, we have a picture I have this great picture of him doing this at like age, what is it? He's like 10 or something in the hall. And we're all little kids. And I'm a little kid, and there are days and times, and it's so easy to get mad at my husband. It's so easy to be irritated with his agenda or whatever he's doing and how he's doing it wrong, right, in the world according to me. And to remember that he's just that guy, that like awkward 16-year-old kid, just trying his best to be in the world, right? And it really helps me to remember that I'm that kid still and that he's that kid still, and that's the guy I love, and I really want to support him and root for him. So I keep a picture of him like that to remember who he is.
That's so cute and that's so sweet. So I think and thank you for sharing that, by the way, because I just put you on the spot with that question.
No worries.
And I hope you're not embarrassed with that.
Not at all.
so what I see also and what you just said, it's about really a lot of acknowledgement and honoring the man that shares your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you would say, so if you're having a problem doing that for yourself, get pictures of yourself when you were a kid and remind that kid. And when you start to have a lot of self-talk that's bad, look at that picture and say it out loud to her or him.
Yeah.
It really changes it. To start to honor, like, what does that little girl deserve? What does that little boy deserve? How do I deserve to be treated?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's almost time to wrap up. Leslie, do you have anything else you want to add before I wrap up?
No, I think that you get to, well, yes. So everyone gets to have the relationship that they want and deserve, and that it is easier and quicker to do that path with someone, right? It could be me, it could be you, but I think there's many other people out there. Ask for the support. Give yourself that gift, right? It can be me, and I'm happy to help you, right? Or it could be you. If you get quiet and listen to your own inner guidance, you're going to find the coach and the path and the person who's going to help guide you in that way, right?
Yeah.
Just take that moment to do that. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. Like, you've got the power to have the life you want. So
absolutely. Thank you. So where people can find you?
It's easy. It's coachleslie.com.
Coachleslie.com. I love it.
Leslie. So super easy. And I have a group on Facebook called Spiritual Journey to Your Soulmate. And so just ask, request, and come on in. And I'd love to help if you are so called.
Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this conversation. I love your playfulness. I love your insights. Thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, guys, it's time to wrap up. Before I finish, as I always said, you can always open your heart and you have all the love you need. Until then, and until next week, just have a great week and be well. Bye, everyone. Bye.